I'm going to start with, this idea of, hey, it's great to have a magic wand and do things. We'll touch on that. But to unlock the sort of transformational value that many of you are looking for requires more than just a magic wand and one-star performer. John was talking about earlier on, John Verbilt was talking about, the discipline of trying to get your first program, your first project out there, and then getting ready for the tidal wave. I tend to talk about that as the sort of Jekyll and Hyde routine. On the one hand, you're absolutely focused on getting this thing out and making it successful, and then watch out. You better be careful what you wish for, because suddenly you've got 20, 30 different business units queuing up to get access for you. So your ability to manage the politics up front is really critical here, because otherwise you can end up being just a nice little flash in the pan, did one thing nice, never could deliver. So how you get that buy-in that makes that work. How you develop that long-term vision, how you engage the rest of the organization. I'm going to try and give you some tools, some ways of thinking about how you're going to do that. Okay? Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to build and scale these things. So in AIG, let's just carry on. We'll have a one-on-one conversation here for a minute. You kept your hand up the longest. It doesn't matter. It'll be painless. If you think about it, the sort of things that you've been doing in that organization, you've been playing this game for a while, and also you've put in place the governance to make that happen. You've had to manage the politics upwards and outwards. You've had to grow the resources. You get the drift. It's not just about the technology widgets and can I have a mobile one of those, please. Now, a little proviso. This presentation is written, I suppose, for a commercial audience rather than a government audience. So that means, from a government perspective, you'll have to do a little bit of translation. And also, feel free to sort of stop me if you really think I've gone completely off the rails and that won't work, because we can make it a bit more interactive. The jewel in the crown. I mean, how many of you were thinking of a record? Not many, I shouldn't imagine. The current princess married to Prince William? A book? A glass of beer? These are all images that came up when I did the search for the jewel in the crown. Maybe you were thinking of the book or a movie? Were you thinking of the lily or the jewel in the crown in India? Or perhaps like me, you were thinking initially of the Kohinoor diamond and the crown jewels which the British stole from the Indians in 1849. All 104 carats of it. But actually, I'm going to talk to you, I suppose, about the jewel in the crown, which is how you create the engagement program, how you get this thing really scaling up. Now, I said I'd start with magic wands. They're really useful in a BPM program. I do an actual exercise often with teams, which is, here's a magic wand exercise. You can assume that anything is possible. And you do a bit of brainstorming, and then you get them to write up what it was like before, what it was like after, and if they could, the bit of magic that happened along the way. You can do that with a team of 100 people, split up into teams and move them all around. And before you know it, you've got 300-400 ideas of what you can do with this sort of technology, just by giving them a magic wand. And then you're able to sift them and sort them and work out how you're going to move that forward. So in a way, you're engaging them to think about what they want to do with this stuff. Them being the business people. Now, I keep on mentioning projects, programs. So let's do a little human scale here. How many have you got on the go of any sort inside your organization that might have a 3-letter acronym, a 4-letter acronym, or in fact any sort of change program? Anybody less than 5? I'll start here, and by the time I got to that chair, we'll be at 1,000. How's that? So anybody got 5 or less? I don't think so, not many. How about 20? Nobody yet. 50? change programs or projects of any sort. 100. Still nobody. 500. We're getting a few hands. 1,000 plus. And with the rest of you, you've got no change programs going on inside your organization. The reality is you've got hundreds and hundreds of change projects going on. And let me ask you this question. How are you going to differentiate your Appian project from those other ones that are going on? You know, every middle-ranking manager that's out there has seen hundreds of these things coming past. Can you give me some time? We're just going to change the way you do things and give you that information. So they become a bit sort of, what's the word? Sanguine about the whole thing. They really couldn't care. And they don't really believe you. So you've got to prove yourself. So I sort of use this analogy. Are you putting Band-Aids on the organization? Or are you going for a wellness program? Now, those hundreds of projects, I guarantee you, are probably Band-Aids. We're fixing this problem, we're fixing that problem. Now, in your organization, now we'll just do a binary one. When I'm standing here, this is the aspiration, if you like. I'm not going to ask you whether or not it's the current reality is they're always Band-Aid programs. But how many of you would say that actually your organization is looking for a wellness program rather than a Band-Aid program? A few. Because now you've got your challenges set out. So I suppose I'm going to try and help you with a picture of how to build that sort of ideal. All those other folks who are happy putting Band-Aids on their organisation, you can probably get up and leave now, because actually I'm going to be talking about a wellness program. Not too many people got up, so I presume you're going to stay here. Okay, so I keep on using this word transformation, and I see it bandied around a lot, and it often means lots of different things to lots of different people. And I suppose I won't sort of dwell here for any great length of time. I heard what I thought was a fantastic definition of transformation. It was from the COO of Barclays Wealth in the UK. And as a sort of throwaway line in the middle of this conference, he said, and transformation means being prepared to change everything you do, but most importantly, how you think. And that's the challenge. People are often not prepared to change how they think. You know, you can change anything you like about this process as long as you don't change my org chart. You can change anything you like about this process, but don't change the customer output process. We've only just got that working, whatever. So I suppose I just wanted to frame it a bit. Now, we've done a bit of research in Forrester, and this study I did year before last, so it's 18 months old, but it's still just as relevant. Is there a pointer in this? There is. 325 actual change programs is what we surveyed here. And we really did a pretty thorough maturity assessment of those change programs. And using a CMMI type model. So along the way, though, I asked them one question that really is relevant here, which was, tell me about the two most important drivers for your change program. And strangely enough, and I can segment them now because I had so much data, in that 1 going on 2 transition, in other words, from chaos to getting sort of basic management controls, it's primarily about cost reduction. Now look what happens when you go to 2 going on 3. Suddenly it becomes about the customer experience. It's not that cost reduction has gone away, it's that the customer experience has sort of taken over. 3 going on 4, and by the way, I'm giving you the numbers here that fit into each one of those categories. 3 going on 4, look what's happened to cost reduction now. It's way down in comparison to customer experience and value innovation. Now, when we get to the very top of the chart here, there are a few organisations that we have come across that are in that 4 going on 5 category. 3 of them were GE, or parts of GE, just to give you some idea. They're all statistically in line. And what does that tell us? Well, there's a real aha moment in this, because you start off thinking it's all about how do I reduce cost. And now I'll put it in the language of the woman running transformation in Citigroup outside of the US. And her words were along the lines of, yes, we've gone from 350,000 employees down to 275,000 employees. Then we realized we couldn't really downsize anymore without materially affecting the outcomes we're delivering to our customers. So we have to start thinking about how we improve the outputs that we produce for our customers. And if you think about it, that's the behavior that gets you out of this low state, this reductionist philosophy of reducing cost. Sure, we should save costs, because mostly in these low maturity organizations, there's a lot of waste. There's a lot of cost to be reduced. And, you know, capitalism is a great leveler, therefore we will move towards lower cost options. But the real way out of this is to start thinking about improving the customer experience. You know, and then you start finding some things, when you look into it, that you do that the customer doesn't value, so you stop doing them. Ka-ching! You've just saved yourself some money. We were just talking before about the printing, for instance. It's something that people don't really value, but we spend $89 million on it. Now, as you're doing that, you'll start to discover things that your stakeholders, your customers really want, and strangely enough, you'll start innovating the proposition that you take to market. Now,